Welcome to episode 16 of The Rational Homer. As the week of August 9th begins, PGA Tour playoff starts on Thursday, and Andy has much to say about that. And Jordan Spieth, as he is in the field. We preview the college football season, both Iowa and Iowa State, as well as some of the other notables in the top 25. Welcome back, Andrew, to another week of the Rational Homer, as the FedEx Cup, the FedEx St. Jude Championship is this weekend, as this is the playoff for the PGA, and with a $20 million purse in this first tournament of three. Jordan Spieth did sadly make the cut at 54 out of top 70. What are your thoughts on that, and what about Jordan Spieth's play this past weekend?
Well, thanks for having me for another week of the Rational Homer. Yeah, exciting time of year for golf. Majors are done, but FedEx Cup is always exciting. Like you said, first week this week, top 70, cut it down to 50. I think a couple things that catch my eye. I mean, we'll obviously start with Jordan Spieth. Had a decent tournament this weekend. Had to make a 24-foot putt just to make the cut, and ends up getting a top 20 out of it. Only bumped him up one spot to 54, but he's playing better as of late. I'll cautiously say that. He's gonna need a pretty strong showing this week to make the top 50 for the BMW championship the second week. I also think a good storyline is that Jackson Coivan got in as the last guy in with only 5 starts, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, he had the win at the 3M, which that kind of did it. But it's going to take a huge week for him, probably a win to get to the next week. But an exciting storyline for a first tournament where the top, 30, 40 guys, they're kind of just already on to the next week. So there's not a whole, I mean, it's a golf tournament where all the best are playing. So it'll be exciting, but it's
So
more
a
so,
little bit more challenging for Jackson to
right,
win.
right. But it's those top guys in terms of how the playoffs go. Doesn't mean as much, although like positioning to win the whole thing is going to matter because you want as many points as you can.
Yeah, going into that final week. And
Right.
also, you still get paid a decent purse for first place here. So
Right. There's a lot on the line, and since all the best are playing, they're all going to be trying hard.
yeah, and some notable names in the field are Scheffler, Cameron Young, Colin Morikawa, Burns, Rory is of course in the field. Justin Rose actually made it. Ricky Fowler made it. Ricky Fowler is probably one of the favorites for me anyway. I've been watching him a while. Any other names you look forward to watching this weekend besides your beloved Spieth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always fun watching Scotty and Rory go at it. I feel like there's not a whole lot of other guys that like carry their weight on their own. I want to watch Jackson Coivan for sure. I like Ricky, he's always fun, especially because he's having a pretty good year. I don't think he's been in the top 30 starting the playoffs for a while. So that'll be fun. But, I'm obviously watching Jordan Spieth. Little fun fact though, I guess Daniel Berger is out this week, so there's only 69 instead of 70 players. I want to say some sort of injury or illness, but just a small wrinkle. And this tournament, 750 points goes to the winner, so that's pretty substantial considering Scotty's in first by 800 points. So, people are going to need to be able to catch him. You really want to win this one.
So, I'm not too familiar with the FedEx Cup playoff thing, but the third tournament is not just a fresh field. It's everybody still has their points, I think.
Exactly. So like the points carry of these next 3 weeks. So like if you're in 70th and you win, like Jackson Coivan is at last place right now, and he has 581 points. So if he wins, he only has like 1,430 points, where Scotty could get last place and he still has 4,100. So it's like you can't just
So,
accidentally win one of these and win the
right.
whole thing.
So essentially, there's no way for collision to win the whole thing.
No, well, yeah, no, because there's someone who wins that last tournament, which is a lot of money, but then winning the overall playoffs is like where you get a ton of money.
Yeah. Okay. So there's almost like two separate entities in a way.
Right.
Right.
So it's always like someone wins the final tournament, which is only the top 30 guys. So that's obviously a big deal. But a lot of times the guy who wins that isn't the winner of the playoffs. So it can be a little like confusing. But
so it's kind of like the season leaderboard and then the
right.
individual. Okay, understood.
So and there's no cuts at all, because they're just all playing.
Yeah, yeah. So that will be either good for or bad for you watching Jordan Spieth. We will have to see on that.
Yeah, I think after a couple days well, I mean, I guess a lot can happen after 2 rounds, but yeah, you kind of know where things stand after a couple rounds.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot better. I feel like watching him the past couple weeks, and have made some pretty interesting recoveries after some not so great shots. So you gotta give him props for that too.
Right. It's the classic where he's playing well as a whole, but he has like a couple really bad holes per round. So you're never going to be close to winning. But
Yeah, that's
I
what keeps him.
digress.
What keeps him from being near the top, as they say.
Right.
The classic Jordan Spieth experience.
Unfortunately. Fun when he's winning, but
That hasn't been for 4+ years. But I digress on that.
okay, we didn't need to talk about that.
Okay, we'll probably move over to good old football next, and we'll be back after a short break. Moving over to college football, as training camp started last week for all the teams, and Iowa State is definitely in for the experience, as most of their team is new transfers, starting at their offensive line, which I believe currently projected at 5 starting new transfers. And they lost 24 starters, or whatever the number is. So they definitely have a lot of new starters everywhere, but obviously the offensive line is most important, not only for the run game, which seems to be Iowa State's focus going forward, and for their new quarterback, Jalen Radar. Of course, Jimmy Rogers took over for Matt Campbell after Campbell left Penn State. Watching his interviews, just how he talks is it gets you pretty hyped up with the offensive coordinator as well, Tyler Rule, and the defensive coordinator, Babbitt, as well. Have you done your research on Iowa State, Andrew?
Yeah.
You have. Interesting. Do you know who Isaiah Terrell is yet?
He's a D end from Washington State.
Yes, I believe he's number 2 on the NIL payroll for Iowa State. As Iowa State's roster market is expected at $31 million, although they're only contributing $18 million, I believe, to the NIL. Jalen Radar, who's projected to be the starting quarterback as a senior, is making $2.28 million, I believe, is what's listed on this website anyway.
So where you gotta fill me in on that one. Where's their quarterback from?
He's from Arkansas State. I know
Mm.
Arkansas State almost beat Iowa State last year down there. He's a dual threat quarterback. He can run and throw. Very exciting to watch. I'm very hard to prepare for. I'm very good at keeping plays alive. I'm really excited to watch him because I always kind of favor dual threat quarterbacks. And then you factor in offense, running back situation of Cam Petaway and Aiden Flora, who's kind of a do-it-all return man for Iowa State. Tyler Rule compared him to kind of a thorn in Iowa's side of a Christian McCaffrey type player for Iowa State. He's a very just kind of receiving back, not really known for his running ability, but with the depth of the Iowa State running back room this year, and some players have left and some have been injured. Sounds like Flora is going to be the number 2 behind Petaway. Whole new tight end room as well. New wide receiving core for the most part as well, as Dominique Overby was the only one that stayed, I believe, and he's kind of always battling an injury of some sort. Defensively, I mentioned Terrell. David Coffey is projected to be the number 1 cornerback. He stayed as well, and they got Drew Sturgis who stayed. D-line is going to be much improved as they're switching from a 3-3-5 to a 4-3 defense. So hopefully to stop the run, that's the plan defensively. It'll be a run-stop first team, and kind of play in the pass after that, which will be a different look for Iowa State, and they're kind of hoping keeps the fans a little bit more engaged, as the 3-3-5 was kind of hard to watch as a fan and stay engaged, because you could just get gashed in the run game over and over, and the quarterback would have all day to throw it. And I'm very excited for Iowa State this year. New faces, new coaches. Wasn't sure how I'd be, going back to last December with the Matt Campbell leaving and this new coach that I didn't really know a lot about. But watching the interviews, watching it be football season again, you get pretty excited. I'm pretty excited for him. But we will see what happens. just kind of that time of year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like once August hits, like you said, they start kind of getting training camp going. Football's just right around the corner. As far as Iowa State goes, I feel like from an Iowa fan, what I know is new coach, a ton of new players, and kind of like you said, gonna probably be a new look for Iowa State's just like playing style, which will be, I feel like will take a few weeks to get used to. Iowa State games, second week of the year, only about a month away. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a fun game and a fun year just following Iowa State with such a new program, I guess, while still being the same team. Schedule seems, I don't know, I mean, it doesn't seem ridiculously hard, but not easy.
No, and they're picked last in the Big 12 among the media, which isn't really a surprise given they had, around 50 new transfers come in because of who left. The Big 12 Media Days a couple weeks ago, Jimmy Rogers picked Iowa State to be in the Big 12 championship game, and he did that. I mean, I don't know how possible that is,
I
but
mean, hold up. Why would he say that other than being first year optimism? I feel like that just sets you up for
because
disaster.
I mean it does, but at the same time, if you're preaching to your players, expectations and things like that, if you don't believe they can be in the championship game, at Big 12 Media Days, that kind of sends the wrong message to your team. There are only two coaches of the 16 in the league that picked their team to be in the championship game.
But was it
So
like a we play to be in the championship or like a I think we'll be in the championship?
no, we played. We I came here to win. Is kind of how he said it. So if I
Well,
don't believe
okay.
we, so it wasn't like a we're gonna be there. It was like a if my players don't believe that I think we can be in the championship game, then why are we? Kind of the why are we playing type thing. So I like the
Makes
message
sense.
that I like the message he had about that, and just very I think very different coach speak than what we're used that we had with Campbell for the past 10 years. He's very, I'd say, forward and very win, and he'll be very honest with you. Whereas Campbell will kind of sidestep questions and things like that occasionally. So I do like that he's more forward and he's just gonna tell you like it is, and if he doesn't believe in something, he's gonna tell you, that's probably not gonna work. So that's what I'm most excited for to see. After the first game they play, I believe it's Missouri, the first game of the year.
Yep.
So that will be exciting. And then, of course, playing at Iowa. And one other note is Iowa State did still retain Tyler Conrady. I'm sure Iowa fans are elated about that fact. As he was seen making a 62-yard field goal in practice last week. So that's that little note. But they do have a tough stretch in the Big 12 schedule. I believe they travel to Arizona, then BYU. And BYU is kind of considered a front runner of the Big 12, along with Texas Tech, as Texas Tech has just poured the money into their football program. I think their NIL is like 40 plus million, or maybe even 50 or 60 million, as Cody Campbell is just sponsoring basically the entire football program at this point. But it's a very interesting time in the Big 12. I think it will probably be BYU and Texas Tech in the championship game, just given kind of the money those programs are dumped in, but also kind of the coach history there and just how consistent they've been over the last few years, especially BYU. I really like BYU's coach. I forget his name right now, but always a good program. So I think him and Texas Tech will be a tough beat. But other than that, I don't have too many thoughts on Iowa State right now. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, it's just so hard to completely predict what they're going to do this year. And partly I think that's why they're not picked to do well by the media because they have literally like a whole new team and barely retained anyone. But that's as a sports fan, that's kind of what makes it exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's every Saturday. You don't know what you're gonna get, and I think the favorite part for me in this whole process is, yeah, we lost a bunch of players that I enjoy watching develop within the program. But now we kind of get new players in the program that either come from other places or are going to be try to be leaders in their 1 year at Iowa State, or they're going to be here a couple of years and watch them develop and grow throughout the season and maybe the following season. And so that's exciting for me, and to see a different quarterback style because not that I don't mind the typical pocket quarterback situation, but I do like the ability that the quarterback can run and there's designed run plays for the quarterback, especially when you get into situations like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, where you can have that RPO type, is he going to run it, is he going to throw it type thing. So I think that's really an interesting potential factor to add to the mix here for this upcoming season. But other than that, I don't have much to say on Iowa State right now, and we'll move over to your beloved Hawkeyes as they prepare for another season under Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think optimism is there for the Hawks this year. We've had a I would say a promising season last year. Obviously lost plenty of people, but feels like the I don't know if hype's the right word. Like coaches poll, we're ranked 22nd. New quarterback that
Yeah,
always
bit
scares me.
overrated, but yeah, carry on.
So yeah, I feel like Tim Lester though as the offensive coordinator has been like super promising in his first couple years. So I'm excited to see where we're at year 3 with him, even though we're getting a new quarterback. Kirk Ferentz, like he's never talked about a new player more than a few times, like last week in his interviews, and he mentioned Tony Diaz, this transfer receiver that we have. So I think if you look at like who Kirk is mentioned at this point of the year, who is a first year player, it's like 5 guys, and they're all some of our best, like Bob Sanders, Dallas Clark, stuff like that. Maybe the Hawks will have a good receiver for once, or for the first time in a while. I don't necessarily love the schedule though. So if you're looking at like obviously playoff hopeful, just staring at Michigan and then versus Ohio State back to back, that I mean, you can lose 2 games and still make it probably. The rest of the schedule is not very easy either.
Yeah, and with kind of an unknown quarterback situation, that
Right.
could be very brutal, depending upon how the games before that stretch goes, and how the fan base will be, around the quarterback situation. And Ferentz also kind of seems like the person that doesn't like making changes at quarterback,
Not at
which I
all.
feel like which might add to the situation with the fans if they feel like somebody else should be given a shot. I'm not sure if you have any inside sources on who's projected to be the starting quarterback right now.
I had heard Hank Brown, who was the quarterback who played when we were playing Indiana last year and had him beat.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and he played okay, but then he made that terrible throw and
Yeah,
we lost, obviously. Otherwise, that Heklinski, I think he's from Wake Forest. His first name's Jeremy.
yeah,
He's supposed to be like more mobile. Honestly, it's funny because I'm an Iowa fan, but I get so dang frustrated by Kirk being like stubborn and unwilling to change, especially at like the big positions like a quarterback. So I'm never one to talk in the like preseason that I'm like all pumped about our quarterback when it's a new one because who knows what's gonna happen.
yeah. And it's not like Gronkowski was okay. I mean, he wasn't outstanding. Then you had Matt Demara before that and Deacon Hill. So it's kind of weird to think about if they had a quarterback that you felt confident in, what the ceiling would be for Iowa.
Right. And I'm more thinking like for the playoffs as a Big Ten team, you probably can lose 2. In a rare year, you could lose 3. So that's kind of how I look at the schedule. I'm like that happen versus caring who's at what position, I guess. When we haven't seen them play for a full season.
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting. A couple other players to note is I like that tight end DJ Vonahue. And of course, they have Moulton back at halfback, and
Yep.
Vanderzee is still a wide receiver, which I always like watching him because he's a taller wide receiver, bigger wide receiver. Just kind of throw it up and hope he pulls it down. Defensively, I'm not too sure what they look like. I think up front they're maybe a little weaker. Not entirely sure on that, but I don't think their defense is going to be as strong as it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't think on paper it's supposed to be, but that's kind of when the Iowa guys kind of become like legends is when there's just like no preseason hype on them. So I always will think that our defense will be solid because that's just kind of Iowa football, but they haven't
Well, yeah,
had
and Parker
as much.
Parker is a, Parker is a great defensive coordinator. Not taking
Right,
anything
right.
away from that, he's great at scheming and all that stuff. So I think they'll definitely be solid. But I think if they need to lean on the defense a little bit more this year, that might be a little bit more difficult than previous years.
I totally agree. That's why I'm hoping Lester in the offense is a little bit or is even better than his first 2 years.
And I think they'll have to create ways, as you mentioned earlier, to get Diaz the ball from the wide receiver position, whether that's their jet sweeps or things like that. But you have to find ways to get him bubble screens, things like that, to get the ball in his hands if he's as talented as Kirk Ferentz is talking about him. So I think that's definitely going to be part of it as well. Because we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be, especially with passing downfield.
Right. The passing game, I'm kind of just like cautiously optimistic. Let's see what happens. There's been too many years in the last decade where we're like, we're going to have a lot better like passing offense, only for it to still be terrible.
And another part of that is for Iowa, we want to talk about the recruiting a bit. It's hard to get a good quarterback in when the system isn't changing to where the quarterback looks good.
Right.
So I think that, and that's kind of what it was like for the wide receivers for a time there too. Is it's hard to get wide receivers in when they're coming into that offense that is, primarily lean on their defense to get ahead and then just ground you into the turf by running the ball. So I think that's a very interesting aspect as well. But hopefully their offense has improved and, they can average closer to 30 points a game. But we will see what Tim Lester does with the help.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you need, for the way we play defense and the way Kirk loves to sit on a lead, like you said, you got to be able to score enough to not like to have a little bit of forgiveness when you're not playing your best.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see what happens there. And their special teams doesn't sound like it's going to be quite as strong either. Which is that a concern for you at all, or?
Well, I think our kicker is supposed to be solid. What's his name? He's a transfer from, I think, North Dakota State. He got some preseason hype, but I'm not sure about like our punter. So yeah, I mean, we normally are strong in special teams, so I'd hope that that gets figured out.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And talking about some other teams, looking at the rest of the top 25, is there anybody in the top 25 that stands out to you?
In terms of like surprised that they're in the top 25 or
Yeah,
just like
surprise or expect a big season out of them, anything like
I think a couple things. I'll obviously be interested to see how Indiana bounces back from being the reigning nationals champion and
Yeah, so
create
they got a quarterback transfer, Hoover from TCU. I thought he was a fairly solid quarterback, so I think he'll fit into Indiana's system nicely.
right
But
and
we'll see.
preseason number 6. So I feel like clearly there's still like people still believe in them. Also, Miami, who they beat in the championship at number 7. So I'd be interesting to see if both those teams have solid years. In terms of top 5, it's kind of the usual. Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame. Not a whole lot of surprise there. I'm sure one of those 5 ends up not having a great year, but I think the rest, usually it's safe to say those will all be strong. Otherwise, well, I think Alabama at 11 is intriguing because it feels like this is Kalen DeBoer's like kind of make or break year. If they lose any games that they shouldn't, I think they could the seat is going to get really hot, and just 11 for Alabama preseason is not what they were used to under Saban. So we'll see. Michigan at 16 too. I know I said that that's a hard game for Iowa because it is, but we'll see where their program's at this point with coaching changes and controversy. And I just feel like, I mean, they have such a strong money backing that in this era, that's kind of can keep you stable, but you still need like good leadership. So I'll be interested to see if they have a down year or not.
I think Coach Whittingham taking over the program, I think they'll still be solid. He did a great job at Utah for 15 plus years.
Right.
But again, first year coach and new program, new faces. Kind of it will be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah. There's just the unknown, which I also think is funny that Utah is 21, losing him. I guess we'll see pretty quickly if that holds up. Those are a couple of the notables that caught my eye, I guess.
Yeah, and then also very interested in Utah as well. A couple other Big 12 schools. Obviously, I'm interested in Texas Tech losing Swordsby due to the gambling issue, and how much they fought that to try to get him to be able to play, and then they finally just gave up and realized it was a losing battle. I'm also, sneakily very interested in the Houston Cougars, led by Willie Fitz. I think they're a very solid team. They had great defense last year. Just kind of one of those nitty gritty Iowa type teams, just kind of grind it out, trying to keep it low scoring. I'm very interested to see them this year, and maybe they sneak into the college football playoffs if they win the Big 12.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, one of those teams that we'll see. I think at 24 in the preseason poll, that's one of those like they could be a lot better than that, but they could also very quickly drop out of the rankings for the whole season. So, I mean, as far as the Big 12 goes, obviously they're putting stock into Texas Tech, but well, and BYU, Texas Tech,
Mm,
BYU, like you said, but there's nothing stopping. Like they have SMU, Utah, and Houston all in the bottom of the rankings. So it's just going to be teams that could kind of make a run for it.
yes, and that will be very interesting as well. And so I don't know how good TCU is going to be, but what else I see on those teams that are near the bottom of the rankings? Penn State came in middle of the pack, about 15, about maybe a little bit lower. Don't know how to feel about them. I want them to do well. I want Campbell to do well. I don't want Campbell to get fired. And they have a fairly easy schedule, extremely easy schedule. But being Matt Campbell, it always seems like he loses games he shouldn't every year. So that will be interesting to watch. I'll be pulling for Penn State. Whether I'll be able to watch them, I'm not sure. Just watching former Iowa State players in a different color, different uniform, Campbell in different colors on the sideline. Not entirely sure I'll be able to stomach that, but I will be watching them to see how they're doing and see how that goes. I haven't really watched any Campbell press conferences or interviews. I've seen a couple clips and stuff, a couple writings, but it's really hard to watch that. And I just kind of want to focus on Iowa State and Jimmy Rogers and their coaching staff. Is That's what the focus is this year.
Yeah, I feel like the name Penn State is never a name that I'm gonna like. So regardless of who the coach is, even though it has the Iowa State connection, I don't want Penn State to be good.
Yeah, I mean that is entirely fair, and it's kind of funny how I felt like one of the reasons Campbell went there was because of them having more money. But you're looking at the roster comparisons, and I believe Penn State's NIL this year is only 25 million, according to this website. Maybe 33 million. I can't really understand this website, but that's besides the point. But Iowa State, sits around 17 to 20 million for their roster. So it doesn't. I don't feel like 5 million really is gonna make that much of a difference in terms of what Campbell will be able to do. That's maybe 3 or 4 players. If we're talking 3 or 4 higher top tier players, which can make a difference. But I feel like having people that want to be there and it's not about the money, I feel like that's a little bit more important. And that's kind of what a lot of the people were saying about the Iowa State players is they went for the money. And I don't know if I agree with that entirely. I completely understand wanting to follow Campbell to Iowa State. And maybe Jimmy Rogers not wanting to have leftovers as much, where people are, oh, well, that's a Campbell player. That's not a Jimmy Rogers player type situation. But one former Iowa State player I will be interested in following is Blue Sama from Polk County, as he transferred to Wisconsin. So I'm sure he'll face Iowa this year, and we'll see if he can break a few big runs against them.
Yeah, that's I feel like Wisconsin running backs are always solid, and the fact that they have he's from Des Moines, right?
Yep.
Be interesting to see what level of success he has, but also a Wisconsin program that hasn't really been great under Fickle, so we'll see.
Yeah, and Fickle's probably on the hot seat as well. I think they got a transfer quarterback as well, so that will be kind of interesting to see.
I obviously don't like Wisconsin at all as a rival, so but yeah, having an Iowa running back, something that I'll keep an eye on.
Any closing thoughts on the college football before we wrap it up here for this week's episode?
I mean, like we said at the start or when we started doing the preview, crazy that it's only a few weeks away. And I feel like that's a little sad because summer is on the downturn. But at the same time, football being back is always great. So hoping for a great year for the Hawks. My other rooting interest, the Kentucky Wildcats, have a brand new coach. from Lexington, but he was the offensive coordinator at Oregon. So should be a little excitement there, just seeing how he does, see if he brings some excitement.
And who's that head coach?
Will Stein.
Wilson.
So he was just coaching them in the Oregon in the playoffs. So he got to Kentucky a little bit later,
Any
but
relation to Cody Stein or no?
no, nope. Would be awesome though.
Former basketball player for Kentucky.
Former stud, yeah.
Okie dokie. Well, that would do us. Thank you for joining us, Andrew. Good luck next week, as you probably won't be here, as you have a busy week. And hopefully we'll be able to have you on again in a couple weeks when you're all settled with everything.
Absolutely. Thanks as always for having me. Good luck with your upcoming fantasy football drama.
Yes. Draft drama with the good old brothers of yours and other people. And remember, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions for sports-related content you'd like me to react to, send an email to rationalhomer@gmail.com.